Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Registry of Deeds of Plymouth County, and this show is about Plymouth County real estate. This show is being taped in April about March activity at the Registry of Deeds, and it's been a very good year so far at the Registry of Deeds. I'll also have in my second segment my Assistant Registrar of Deeds, Tim White, who will talk about some of the projects that we highlight at the Registry of Deeds. We're just going to do a summary of some of the things that we've covered before, just as a reminder for people how to take advantage of it. And then we'll talk about some of our history. So let's go right to the numbers. The Registry of Deeds records all land records in Plymouth County, and we'll talk about some of those. Our headline for the month was Spring Sales Start Well in Plymouth County. There were 773 deeds recorded in March. A deed is a sale of property, higher than the 565 in February, 45% more than the 534 deeds last year. We're up 33% year to date. The next document I'm going to talk about are mortgages. Mortgages are used for the purchase of property. They're also used when people can refinance and bring their mortgage rate and payment down. There were 1,963 mortgages recorded in March, more than the 1,505 in February, up 1% over last March. But I will say last year, calendar year 15, there was a 25% increase of mortgages recorded. So certainly people bought property and took out a mortgage and also took advantage of our low rates, still low rates, to refinance. I encourage you to do so. We've also had some troublesome documents recorded at the registry over the last few years. Foreclosure deeds and foreclosure notices are a couple of them. There were 76 foreclosure deeds recorded in March. A foreclosure deed is when a lender has taken the property back from the individual. Title has shifted. It was more than the 66 recorded in February and 95% higher than last March. You're going to see bar charts all along the way as we've talked about this, including foreclosure deeds and notices. As we get into foreclosure notices, there were 119 foreclosure notices recorded in March, up from the 77 in February, up from the 57 last February. We're up 57% in foreclosure notices over the first 3 months. You're next going to see an image of all the foreclosure listings by community. Plymouth, Brockton, and Wareham have traditionally been our most difficult communities, Brockton being the highest, Plymouth second. And actually in this particular one, you'll notice that Rockland had a high number of foreclosure deeds. Those communities are working very hard to help people through them. I advise anybody in any trouble to reach out to a foreclosure counselor to try to modify your loans. The faster you do that before you get into trouble, the better. As we will mention in the next segment, our training room is open the first Thursday of every month. May 5th, the first Thursday in May. We'll have our next one. It's a great opportunity to learn how to efficiently use our website and search records. We did the Council on Aging in Lakeville on April 14th. Norwell office hours will be on April 28th. And we're going to talk about our new fraud alert program, a free program to make sure you get notified if anyone has recorded something against your property. It's a great thing to look at. And the guest on my next segment of the show will be Tim White, my assistant. It will talk about some of the accomplishments over the last couple of years, just so you're aware of things that you can take advantage of. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next segment.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B. Console her.
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C. Find her a new boyfriend.
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back to the Register's Report. Once again, my name is John Buckley. I'm the Registrar of Deeds of Plymouth County. And in this segment of this show, we always try to do something educational in nature. We've had surveyors, we've had title examiners, various real estate attorneys, people that specialize in homes, people that specialize in commercial property, and a whole bunch of other people in the real estate community. But in this show today, I have a great guest, Tim White.
Hey,
Tim,
John.
how are you?
Great to see you.
Tim is my first assistant registrar of deeds, and we thought it would be good to kind of go over a number of things that we've gone through over the past couple of years to modernize the Registry of Deeds. A lot of times we talk about them as we roll them out, but I think it's important just to kind of go back and make people aware of all the different services we have and how we got there. And I'm just going to go back primarily to all the work we've done to get more and more information on the internet.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people in the public realize the internet's been around for a while, and that government entities have been trying to achieve getting as much on the internet as possible. I'm not sure people understand how long it takes, how detailed it has to be to get what has been a book and paper operation for hundreds of years and turn it into an online, instantaneous access to information.
Well, you and I can both talk, John, about when we first started practicing law. I mean, you were a practicing attorney before you became the Registry of Deeds in what year?
I got elected in 2000, sworn in 2001.
2001. So for a number of years before that, you were practicing law in Brockton. And you probably remember when the first fax machines,
Right.
came across our desk, and the old, what kind of was that, rolled paper there, the
Yeah.
crazy paper, and then, and at the same time, or along the same time, is when the internet started to become a major player in the business world and in the world of government. So we sort of saw that from literally starting out solely with paper, and then moving into the big old cell phones that we used to have, that in the car that you would have, the car phones, and how it's got to where we are today. But it even the history even goes back further when you think about the display that we have at the Registry of Deeds. Why don't you tell them about that, John?
Yeah, what Tim's referring to is that at the Registry of Deeds main office in Plymouth, when you walk in the main corridor on the right-hand side is a display that talks about the changes in technology at the Registry of Deeds from the early days when the colonists used the quill pens to write out information about deeds and court orders and court decisions and all of that, how it transferred from the quill pen to the steel nib pen to the modern invention of the typewriter to the ability to that black ink copying machine that everybody from that time period will remember, to a scanning machine, to computers, to the ability now to basically record documents over the internet.
So the changes that have occurred in your administration since 2001 is so dramatic. There's probably more changes in those last 15, 16 years than occurred in the hundreds of years before that as to how we are maintaining the records at the Registry of Deeds. But you even go back, you talked about the colonists using the quill pen.
Sure.
We even have the Native Americans were using the quill pen with their stick diagrams to basically transfer property to the colonists. So, I mean, the changes from the handwritten to the typing to now, with the digitalization of the documents and the access online, is just extraordinary, and it's been primarily under your administration that those advances have been made.
Well, people can search through our website, PlymouthDeeds.org, and basically search back to 1685, the founding of the county, through a grantor-grantee system. We're also working on a linked system that currently goes back to 1930, that you actually can find that document, and all the information as well as the document comes right up.
And I think maybe a little more explanation on what this linked index means and the benefits it is to the public or to title examiners or to folks that are involved in real estate transactions is probably warranted.
Sure.
I mean, it's nice that we have the record, the colonial record. It's not just nice, it's unique. No one else in the country has the colonial records that we have here in Plymouth County, and I think that's fabulous. And that fact that they're actually now been preserved, the Commonwealth did something back in the early 1800s?
1860s.
1860s, to make sure that these records weren't lost to future generations. And then since then now, we have been able to have them reduced to a digital image online. So you can actually see deeds that were transferred back in the 1600s online. What we can't do at this stage is you wouldn't be able to link those transfers right up till the current day because of the fact that our linked index at this point in time only goes back to 1930. And what that allows you to do is to be able to follow the title of your property back from grantor to grantee all the way back to 1930 because they're linked.
Right.
And I think that's probably an important understanding, and you probably want to tell the folks about the exciting news that we're moving forward on pushing that linked index back even further.
Yeah, we expect to go back to 1685.
Yeah.
And by the way, there is a scanned index, a copy of what the hard copy books of the registry are, that's also available online, that allows you to go back and forth between the document and the scanned index to go back to 1685. So the linked index is a lot easier than going back and forth, but we're continuing to do that. And I think it's a great point now to mention once again, as we have before, our training room.
Yes.
So once a month, we run a 2-hour free training room program that people can learn the efficient way of going online and finding their way around our system, whether it be municipal employees, people in the real estate business, genealogists, or just homeowners. They can come in and sign up, and we have 9 stations. So with a hands-on experience, learn how to use our internet site very efficiently. And I think it's a great program. Over the past year and a half, a couple hundred people have come through and benefited from that training, and
Including me.
including us. And thank Christine Richards, our IT director, for doing that.
Well, I think it's important that you mention that, because there never was any training at the Registry of Deeds for folks coming in who were faced with thousands and thousands of books and indexes of all sorts that they, how do I find what I'm looking for? And certainly the local towns, whether it's the tax collector's office or conservation, or all the variety of different offices have all jumped on the opportunity to come down to the registry to learn our system and benefit from that in providing their own public service to the residences of their community. And we've since expanded, as you said, to the general public. And it is a wonderful, not only a wonderful public service, but I see it as, with all of the changes electronically and that with the internet and all, that's an essential public service that folks have the ability to understand how to research records at the Registry of Deeds.
So if anyone is interested in that program, I advise you to call Lorna Green Baker at 508-830-9290 and sign up and make sure you're able to get into the next program. She'll tell you the date and time for you to come down to Plymouth.
What is it? It's the
First
first Thursday of the
every-
month.
of every month.
Of the month, yeah.
So there'll be one coming up in early May.
In early May, yeah, yeah.
So I highlighted our finalization of our modernization efforts in the display case with electronic recording. People can now conduct closings in their law offices. Banks can send discharges over the internet to be recorded. And last week, we track it every week, we had 37% of our recorded land documents came in over the internet. It's a very efficient thing for our staff to be able to record electronic documents as compared to people over the counter, and certainly more efficient for people themselves rather than driving down to the registry for closings. If their attorney doing the closing or their lender doing a refinance does a electronic recording.
So this is a program that you started, another modernization program. How long ago was that?
Probably about 6 or 7 years ago. Currently, all of the 21 registry districts now do a lot of electronic recording. So that's a good thing that everyone does it, because people don't have to go pick and choose between different ones. They can just sign up to an intermediary. So it's not so much for the public, it's for the intermediary banks and attorney's office. They sign up with an intermediary. It's all signed into a contract, and they conduct the closing. They can.
It's a vendor. The intermediary is a vendor.
And they can forward it to us. Our staff reviews it just as they would over the counter, and either accepts it or rejects it if they meet the standards, and it gets assigned a book and page, and it's recorded.
They also need to sign a memorandum of understanding with us.
And then funds can get distributed at their site where they're submitted.
Through the intermediary,
Over the intermediary.
vendor, yeah. Now, when that program first started, I assume that it was used significantly less, and that as you've publicized it and you've been able to expand the number of folks that are using it. Do you remember a couple of years ago?
It probably started in the teens. In ours, it's up into the 30s. There are registries of deeds like Suffolk, which there's no place to easily park.
Yeah.
Never mind, it's so hard to drive into the city.
Yeah.
Thankfully, our 3 offices, our Plymouth at 50 Oberry Street, our Brockton office at the former Brockton District Court on West Elm Street, and our Rockland office in Tripoli, Pleasant Rockland, has parking, and is easy to get to. But it still is a very efficient thing for attorneys and lenders to use to record documents. So moving along to a couple other things, we talked about it. Our training room, we've continued to develop our disaster recovery and business continuity plan. We added a 275 kilowatt generator in Plymouth, so the registry should never ever go down in a storm, and it's certainly over the past winter been put into use more than once.
Yep.
Kept the registry flowing, kept the recordings moving, and
Right,
kept our lights on.
Right, and we brought that generator on site, what, 2 years, just 2 years ago?
About 2 years ago.
Yeah, and it has. It's already, paid dividends for us in respect to, of course, this winter wasn't quite so bad, but last winter was brutal, and there were enough power outlets that it was helpful. So.
And I guess I'd also like to mention to people that usually at the end of the month, when the registry is busier than other days, we have on display one of our colonial records. The colonial records are the documents written out by the colonists in the early 1600s, 1620s. And from deeds to court decisions to laws that they created, Those are within our possession, and we always pick one out of significance to display every month, and invite you to come in. And
Before you leave that, we've had a couple of great examples. You had the right to trial by jury,
Sure.
the first right to trial by jury law passed in this country. You had that on display. You also had on display the first appointment of town clerks.
Yes.
In anywhere
Right.
in our country. So there are some fun historical records that are definitely worth taking the opportunity to see.
And before we run out of time with this segment, I'd also like to just state again, we have a new program at the Registry of Deeds. It's a fraud alert program. Anyone that wants to sign up for it, go to our website and follow the directions and sign up. And in the event that your name, anything with your name is recorded, you will get an email. And it's a great way to be vigilant about protecting your property. We've talked in the past about the Homestead Act, how you can protect yourself from outside creditors. That's another document on our website. You can record a document and cover yourself for up to $500,000 if you're under 62, $1 million over 62, against outside creditors in the event that you had a claim against you higher than your insurance coverage, those types of things. We offer opportunities to protect your property. For most people, it's your most valuable asset. Be vigilant about protecting it. And our segment went very quickly. I'm being signaled that we were going to have to move on. But thanks again, Tim, for joining us.
Great to be here.
Great.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it! I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
So once again, welcome back to the Registry Report. My name is John Buckley. I want to thank Tim White, my assistant, Registry of Deeds at the Registry, for working with me over the years and joining me in this program to highlight some of our more recent accomplishments at the Registry of Deeds. I think the technology changes at the Registry of Deeds and other registries across Massachusetts has been phenomenal, and we advise you to take advantage of that through our website, PlymouthDeeds.org. In this segment of the show, we always try to do something about a history in Plymouth County. We live in such a great area, and we try to tie them to some of the holidays of the month. In April, we celebrated recently Patriots' Day. Sunday, April 24th, is the 100th anniversary of the Easter Rebellion of 1916. Plymouth County has so many people of Irish descent. They will be paying attention to that. The Easter Rebellion was a failed attempt in Dublin primarily to turn away British rule. While it failed, it did set the stage for independence for the majority of Ireland. And some of our notable land records will talk about some of those dates. The first one you're going to see is an image of Deborah Sampson. Deborah Sampson grew up in Plimpton. Her likeness adorns the Plymouth town flag. She dressed up as a man and entered the Army and fought in the Revolutionary War. She traced her heritage back to William Bradford, and she fought in battles in West Point, Tarrytown, New York, and other places. She was wounded 3 times. She fought under General George Washington and is very well known. There's a plaque in her honor on Plimpton Town Square, and again, her likeness adorns the town flag. John Boyle O'Reilly is a very famous Irish person who was convicted of Fenian tendencies, sentenced to death in Australia, escaped to Boston, became editor of the Pilot, and then had a summer home in Hull, and still is the Hull Public Library, but it's certainly an indicator of how people fought for freedom in Ireland. Herbert Warren Wind, if anybody watched the Masters Golf Tournament, one of the best golf tournaments in the world, recently you'll have noticed that there is a section of Augusta National Golf Course called Amen Corner. That was named by Herbert Warren Wind, America's most famous golf writer. He was born in Brockton, golfed at Thorny Lee, and following a tournament one year, the 11th, 12th, and 13th hole, following Arnold Palmer around that course, he named it Amen Corner and wrote an article in 1958 for Sports Illustrated and named it after a jazz song, Shouting for Amen Corner. Amen Corner at Augusta, it was named by an individual from Plymouth County. I want to thank Lorna Green Baker and Christine Richards for helping me putting this show today. Erica Christensen worked the panels as well as produced this program with me today. Thank her and Dave Antoine and the folks at PAC-TV for allowing me to tape this show and share it with the people of Plymouth County. People's home is the most valuable asset in most cases. I offered you some advice today how to protect that asset. And you know, if you have any questions, call me directly at the Registry of Deeds, and I'll see you next month. Thank you. Have a great April.